Okay, and welcome to our final shir, which here we'll go through a review crash course of our major halachas that we need to know. So without further ado, let me go straight to our shir screen. And there we have it. Hilchos Shofar for dummies. Also for dummies, so don't get offended. Okay, number one, the ground rules. Like we said, I'm going very short, so because you all by now are professional shofar blowers, or partner professional halachas, so you will obviously know a lot more background to what I'm about to say. So you'll say, hey, it's not so simple. But this is for literally, you're going on the street, you got your Mivtza card, you got to know what to do. So number one, the blower must stand, listener may sit. So ground rule number one is you should be standing. Now, of course, I'm just going to say this only once. Of course, you can say, well, technically, you could also sit, you'll still be yaitza. That information you should already know. You've taken a test on that. I'm just going to, simply, I'm on Mivtza, what should I do? Number one, you should stand. The listener may sit. Obviously, if shayach, he should stand. Number two, remind them not to talk from the beginning of the bracha to the last blow. Don't be shy. This is a typical Mivtzayin rule. Don't be shy. You're not being rude by telling them what to do. Many times, especially when we're younger, we're afraid to say any extra words, right? We're sometimes putting a tool in the I remember even being afraid sometimes to say, hey, your tefillin are crooked, or can I straighten out your straps? Don't worry. They want to do it right. That's why they took the time to hear from you. That's why they're stopping. Don't be afraid. And even if they say they're rushing and say, well, he didn't really want, I'm pushing him. Good on you. But at the end of the day, the guy stopped to do the mitzvah, so just do it right. Tell him for a second, and it's always easier to preempt instead of saying, oh, I don't want to come across rude. So instead of having to say, shh, just tell him right away what to do. Tell him your expectations. So don't be afraid to say, okay, we're going to make a blessing, and if it's with a crowd, feel like a shliach. Don't worry, just get up and say, guys, we're going to, and if you say with a smile, that everything passes. Everyone loves a good, friendly smile. That always works. So just say, okay, guys, we're going to do the blessing. So traditionally, we should not talk from the beginning of the blessing until I finish. It's going to take about 2 minutes. So bear with me. And you're kind of already preempting what to expect, that he's going to be here for the next 2 minutes. Relax. All right. Number three, you may make the entire bracha for them and have in mind to be mitzi them, and they must answer amen. We spoke about this, that if no one knows, if everyone's completely illiterate, then you can make the bracha for them. Now, I have provided, and because I used to always show the slideshow, and everyone said, okay, as we're going to see in a moment, you may not make the bracha if someone is not chayim in a Torah. For example, e.g., children and women. So if a woman doesn't, even if you have 100 women over there, and no one knows how to make the bracha, and you have so many people ready to be yotze to the mitzvah, your chiyuv is different than theirs, and therefore you're not considered an arev, because it's a chiddush itself that you already did the mitzvah, that you can make someone else's bracha. That itself is a chiddush. So that only applies where it applies. So hint, as I write every year, have a bracha with English transliteration. So finally, after request, so we have it now. Your front of your card. By the way, if you don't have a card, if you want more cards, you want for your friends and family, there's going to be outside my house, probably from tomorrow. I printed an extra 100 cards. I gave with all of your shofar skin with a double card to share with your chavrusa or your parent, and I will also post it on the video, I guess, below on the YouTube. I'll post a link to the actual card. You can also find it on the website of the High Holidays Project. The Kitzer, so if you have this card, it's transliterated, it will help even males, because why make the bracha when someone can make the bracha there? So even if you have all males that you're allowed to make the bracha, it's best they make the bracha. So the bracha is there clearly in Hebrew, clearly in English. And 4, have someone show you the notes you are holding. This is, again, ground rules. Just make sure this is the most practical thing. Whilst you're blowing 30 sounds, the answer is you blow 30 sounds, right? How many should you blow them of time? 30 if possible. Only with mamish on emergency. The guy, say, okay, give me 10 seconds. That's the only time you do it. Guys jumping up to a chaser's bus, running away, however. So that's the only time you'll do that.
Does he make the bracha if he's only doing the shorter version?
First of all, the shorter version. Yeah. It's a good question. I have to ask a Rav. Although the only time you would be doing the shorter version is the guy's mom is flying. So if you have time,
that's what I'm saying. Say if he is, do you get him make
So
bracha.
if the only time you'd be doing this guy's mom is like running away from you, so you just hop around and say, "Okay, give me 10 seconds," and you just blow. So don't worry about anything else. The past times you make a bracha and you do the 30
So
anyway.
why would they be running away from you?
Jogging, I don't have time. People make a excuse that their Yetzer Tov still wants to stay. I know people
You think about
cynically call this.
there are specific times. Let's say, like the people in the area here, they're gonna be like out there, and people are gonna come out. They wouldn't.
Yeah. So this year, I'm just talking about general Mivtza experiences. So this year, you should not experience it. Like you said, no one's rushing nowhere. We're all in lockdown. We're all in house arrest over here. So there's nowhere to run. You're right. But we're talking about in a typical year where you could experience joggers, or even this year you might experience a jogger on the way. Or you might, don't be such a goylem, okay? Don't be a goylem where you get instructions. Okay, here's my address. Okay, you're on the street, you meet people. That was not asked for. And so don't be a girl like, oh, I only have my address. Don't be a non-chassid and a non-Lubavitch that doesn't have the first time experiencing with something like, oh, I'm only allowed to go to my address. You see a yid on the street, be mazak them. Ask them. You don't even have to ask them, did you hear Shofar today? Because no one heard Shofar today. No one went to Shofar.
On the Mivtza website.
That's the website. We'll talk about the Mivtza soon. Okay. We're talking about now just the experience. So this is utmost important. Someone should show you the sounds. If you don't have anyone else, don't be just do it yourself. So steer at the sounds. Know where you're holding. All right. Number 2, the sounds. Even if you're rushing, and I think you're going to see this almost on every page. There's just this reminders, like urgent reminders, no matter what, no matter how fast, no matter how many people you have to cover, no matter what you have to do, you still got to remember that you need to blow it halachically. It's got to be halachically sound, as they say. So number 1, make sure you're actually blowing 9 through. It's not. And you could, one thing I used to blowing, by the way, you can do this fairly fast. You can go. No, I don't think I just did 9 sounds. So just things to be very mindful of that you're blowing 9 sounds. Make sure your shvarim are longer than a throughout. Now, sorry. Yeah. That's not real. That's very close to 2 So it's got to be a little bit longer. Okay, whatever it is, it's got to be more than a trua, number 1, and each one should be as long, right? Counting 1, 2, 3. Okay. End off with, like you said, only end off. This is a minhag chabad to end off with that third, that bit with that extra short blow, but make sure you're already had a full 3 shvarim. Right? Can underline that enough. You're getting full 3 shvarim before you move on to that. Number 4, the tekiah has to be as long as the middle set. So the first tashrat are much longer tekiyahs, counting till 18 moments, which, by the way, like I said, is only about 5 seconds, but that's pretty long still, 4 to 5 seconds. If you did it in 4 seconds, Payal mamish. If you did it, if you did it 9 seconds, you're still yoytze. So even if it's a tashrat, you did it 9 seconds. Payal mamish, it's still a tekiyah. It's just a relative tekiyah is not so. It's not the proper one, but nonetheless, it's still a tekiyah, and you'd be yoytze. Okay. Moving on to the breaks. Even if you're rushing, you must do each one in one breath. Number 1. So there's 2 sides. You can, if you by mistake even do like, you did 4 2s and you almost wanted to go further, and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember we learned in shir that it's got to make sure it was 9. So you're like, oh, yeah, I should probably do more 2s. You just breathed in between. You're not yoytze. You got to now start your tekiyah again, because you cannot breathe in between a sound. If you're out of breath, you do 2 shvarim and you breathe, you got to do that whole set over. You can't even start your shvarim again, because you now created 2 shvarim. If you just breathe and you don't blow again, and technically, so you just do your shvarim again, because you didn't create more than new sounds. But if you start breathing in the middle, it gets very complicated. So That's an easier rule to keep, just not to breathe in between any of your sounds. Sorry?
What do you mean by like start from the beginning of
So you'll have to start your tekiah again. You only have to start from the tekiah of that round. You must breathe in between each sound. Obviously, this comes with a bit of a clause, but you must breathe in between each sound. So watch me. I'm going to do it without a breath. And if you're a Mitzvah and you're a good blower, this is something that you really trip up with.
How do you blow so fast?
That was mostly, you saw me breathe once.
Also, your tekiahs are a bit short too.
Yes. So these are all things to be right. So I'm showing you what a rushed tekiahs might look like, what a rushed tekiahs might look like. And yes, there were several mistakes. The tekiahs may have been too short. I did not breathe, believe it or not, I breathed once during that whole episode. So therefore, I almost like to hear myself, I don't mean literally hear, but like consciously breathe, not even like a tiny breath. I go, I literally, first, especially if you're rushing, you do want to get good gasps. So get a good, all right, breath of air. If you did not breathe,
another thing about going back.
Wait a second. If you did not breathe, you must do that set over. Because it's considered a one-long sound, there was no breaks there, there was no sound, you got to start from the tekiahs again. Of course, as we know, for Tashrat, only pause in between the Shvarim and Trua, do not breathe. And it's something you have to concentrate on. Because you're used to so concentrated that I got to breathe in between every sound, so it's that was wrong. It's got to be or you pause a little bit longer, preferably, but only pause and do not breathe. Moving on. Go back. This is times where you must go back, even if you're rushing, you're not Yaitza, so we got to do this again. You only need to go back to the set of 3 that you messed up on. So if I did 2 good tarats, ooh, I just did a Shofar there. What do I do now? So I have to now, could I just start blowing my tarat right now? Could I just start doing truas now? Come on.
Already breathed. No.
Yeah. No, you have to go back to the tekiah.
Why? Why can I just, I drew wrong Shvarim, so I already did my trua. Why can I blow truas now? I already blow my tekiah. Why can't I just go back to my truas?
Because you added.
You made a new sound.
The new sound here. So I did 2 perfect truas. Just make believe, yeah, and then I go. Oh. I can't do that because I now broke my tekiah. I broke between my tekiah and my truas. I started a shvarim from left field. Do I start all the way from my first tarat?
No,
Yes.
just from that.
No. So that's what we're saying here. You don't need to go back to the entire segment, that entire series of tarat. You only need to go back to the tekiah of that third. So if I did 2 good tarats, then all I have to do is the 3rd tarat again. So I'll give an example here, right? Not from the beginning of that entire set. So example, if you earn on the 3rd tashat, you don't need to restart the whole tashat set, rather the tekiah of the 3rd one, because that's where I messed up on. If you remember my rule, or not my rule, but the rule that we keep to be in mind, once you finish a complete set, I don't mean all 3. I mean once you completed a complete tekiah, so it's a complete ticked off, even though you messed up 1,000 times in between. Once I ticked off on a tekiah, that's fine. It's on my wallet, it's already done, it's already paid for. Number 2, if you started a different type of sound in the middle, you need to restart the set. Example, a trua in middle of a shvarim, then you have to restart from your tekiah. However, if the sound just came out wrong, you don't need to restart the set. Well, let's give an
That's
example.
right?
You guys tell me which one I have to go just first or second. Which one do I have to go back for? Which one now? Okay, or okay, first or second, which one do I have to go back for?
Second.
The second one I don't have to go. Okay, okay. To be fair to you guys, I didn't tell you what was what. But anyway, I completely mucked up the first one. If I start new sounds in the middle, I have to start again, right? So I'm in the middle of I'm supposed to do a tashrat, and I only did 2 truas, and then I go to my shvarim. So at least I have to do my
Well, you mean two
two shvarim, and then I do my truas. So if I didn't breathe, I actually just go back. Let's not get confused over there. I don't have to go do my tkiya. I just have to do that again. But I started a shvarim. I was in the middle of truas. I was supposed to do a truas, and I started shvarim. So do I have to go back?
Do you mean you're in the middle of a shvarim and then you start doing a
It doesn't
chore?
matter. I'm just saying. If I did the wrong sound, do I have to go back?
Wait.
Yes, I do have to go back. But what's
think
if
wait.
what's if they're coming out bad? Like and I try. Do I have to go back to my tekiah for that? No. So long as I'm in the middle trying to get that sound out right. So the example might be if, like, let's take the example of washing for bread, right? Or even saying a bracha for tekiah. We're talking about hefsek over here. What do we say? When is it not a hefsek if I speak after my bracha? Although I shouldn't. When's it not a hefsek?
When it's for the bread. When it's for the mitzvah.
When it's for the bread by a seudah, or it's for the mitzvah. I'm talking about shofar. If it's something random, then it's considered a hefsek. So the same idea really applies to shofar. If I did something random, in other words, a wrong sound, so it's like going off topic. It's like speaking about a completely different topic. We weren't talking about shvarim here. I was talking about truas. How do you come to why are you throwing in shvarim here? But if I'm doing a hefsek, but it's relevant hefsek. In other words, I'm trying to get through us out. I'm on subject. I'm still on subject. I'm still talking about the topic. I'm trying to get out through us. They're just not coming out right. So I don't have to start a tekiah again. I'm just trying to. So that's what it says. However, if the sound just came out wrong, you don't need to restart the sound.
Even if you breathed?
Yeah. Well, it depends when, but yeah, all you did was breathe. The only issue would be if you breathe by your tashrat, because you're now mixing 2 different types of sounds, and because the sound is without a breath. I hope you follow what I'm saying. Only by tashrat, if I did a shvarim, then I breathed, then I did a trua, so then they're a new type of sound, because the sound was a shvarim trua with no breath. But if otherwise I breathed, it's not a problem because I'm still trying to get out that sound. So if I breathe 100 times trying to do my truas, I could, and I'm in truas and trying to get out truas, even if I breathe, I just have to do all the truas in one breath. So if I breathe, I just try my truas again. So long as I'm on subject, it's considered non-hefsek. So even if I breathe, I try my truas again. The only time would be an issue is a tashrat, because if I breathe between my shvarim and trua, then according to this shita that we're going to go with, because that's what we're doing, we don't breathe in between, that's considered a completely new sound that was off subject.
But if you breathe, let's say you're doing a tashat, you do a tekiah shvarim, and you struggle with the tekiah, and then you breathe and you get a good tekiah out. You did a stuffed up tekiah and a tekiah, so that little stuffed up tekiah, which wasn't.
That's the same. That's the same. It's considered I'm just working like a non-hefsek, right? It's like trying to get, I'm still on subject. I'm trying to get out the right sound. So it's considered like non-hefsek. It's so to speak, I'm still on subject. If you finish your trua or shvarim and breathed and began the sound again, you need to restart the set. Who remembers why?
Another sound.
Okay. To be honest, now I have to figure out what I wrote in the last line. This applies even if you did not complete the truas. If you finish the truas or shvarim and breathe and began Oh, very simple. In other words, if I did, I guess it gets complicated. If I thought that I finished my truas, even if I didn't make enough truas, but I finished my truas, and I want to start again, so it seems to be a problem. If it's just coming out bad and I breathe, but if I made a hefsek, like I blew my truas, and then I'm trying to, as far as I was concerned, I'm finished, then I have to do that again. Okay. How to fix it?
Could you please repeat that? I didn't get it.
Okay, the last part's not so important. I'm just saying, so long as if I finished as far as I'm concerned, I finished a sound and I restart that sound, it's considered off subject. Because if you remember, those that got it wrong would know, just the way I replied to you on the test, that a correct sound, once you did a correct sound, any new sound after it, even if it's the same sound. So Marshall, I did some truas and I stopped, and now I start truas again, then it is considered a hefsek because, as far as I'm concerned, my truas are already finished. How to fix it? Even if you're rushing, if you made a mistake and you blew the second tkiya properly, so I blew doo, and then I go doo doo, and I messed up the trua, but I messed up my whole middle. Then I do a second tkiya, and then I realize
on the computer.
What?
Sorry.
So right, if I go, and I realized I only did 2 Shfarim, and I did another tkiya, I could really use my second tkiya for my redo. Remember that? If you only realize your mistake at a later point, I don't know why a good couple you got this wrong, but let's say you only realize that you messed up on one of the tashrats all the way toward your mom is almost finished your whole tkiyas, and then you finally admit to yourself that you feel like one of your tashrats were not really kosher. What do? So just finish the set of 3, finish wherever you're holding, then redo, go back to the set you erred on. Example, if you erred on the 3rd tashrat, and now you're holding 2 tashrats, you may break and you do 1 set of tashrat. I believe that we learned actually that you just finish your tashrat and then return to your tashrat. If you're already holding tashrats, finish your tashrats and then pay back the missing tashrat. So you don't need to start all over again. If you remember, b'di eved, the seder is not ma'akiv. Of course, Medina, you have to go according to the order, according to the way it's the Chachamim set it up. But if you do it out of order, not that you do 5 tkiyas and then 10 truas and then try to combine them. That's every trua, every middle must have a first and second tkiya. If pre-tkiya and a post-tkiya. But if you did 1 tarat, 1 tashat, 1 tashat, and you mess up the order, technically it's kosher, and therefore you don't want to do that. You can't change what the Chachamim said. But if you realize later you made a mistake in one of your tashrats, you don't say, "Oh my gosh, now I have to blow the whole shofar again. I messed up somewhere in the beginning." You don't need to worry. You just correct the set that you messed up on, and you move on. Okay, that is the crash course. Now, Mivtza-wise, so I hope by now everyone signed up to the. Let's stop sharing. So now we'll take some questions. Let me just first. Okay, I could stop the recording.
First of all, first ask a question. Rabbi Lipscar,